Okay, I'm uploading part one. So, continuing the story. The way that I ended up with my grandchild was that I was afraid that something would happen to my grandson in the midst of the violent abuse um, by the father, whether accidental or otherwise. So I called DSS. They gave my daughter the option to come stay with me and her child at my house. Well, I think that the threats that he made um, is what prompted my daughter not to do that. Um, because he is a very dangerous person and he shouldn't be on the street. So, I had gotten temporary custody of my grandson. Okay, now going from there. On the night of the incident, when it occurred, my daughter had came to bring her son some formula and to visit her son. And evidently, she was there a little too long. Originally, okay, see, he never had visitations at my house. I wouldn't allow him there. And originally, he'd send his mother, his sister, or whoever with her. And I told DSS, I said, look, she does not need a babysitter while she's visiting her son. So DSS put a stop to that. Well, unfortunately, it made it where my daughter couldn't come visit her son as often. And if she did, she got beat. So while she was there, she had called him, and I could tell that he was going to beat her again. I knew it. I said, Lou, don't go home. Do not go over there. Well, sure enough, once again, I get a phone call. He's beating her. So in the process, she just pulled up in the yard, so I might have to cut this and restart. But in the process, she calls me, and while this is going on, I call a couple of my friends to come and get my grandson, just in case he came to my house trying to do harm. Well, the cops took so long getting over there to her that the people had already came and was taking my grandson to their place for safety. And the cops still had not showed up over there where he was beating her. Now, my boyfriend at the time had given me a 410 rifle for protection because at that time he was threatening to come kill me and didn't care that his son was present. If not his son too, who knows? Well, I put the 410 in my vehicle after they left with my grandson. And I was headed out. I was going over there where she was to get her, since the law would not. Well, as I was headed out of the development that I lived in, I see this SUV with no lights, no headlights, no nothing on, flying down my road past me. It looked like my daughter's husband's truck. I then turned the car around, because see, at that point I thought, okay, she got away from him, she's headed over here and he's over here. So I turned the car around. Now mind you, this is a private dirt road. This road is not paved. It is a private road. No, law enforcement, unless they are called, has no rights to be on this road. My ex-husband actually got out of a DWI because they pulled him on the private dirt road. It's illegal. Because it is a private dirt road and the officer was trespassing onto someone's private property where he turned off at the time we did not know it was an officer. We, or I thought that it was her husband. So I spun my car around and I went back and parked just a little bit past my house, in between mine and my neighbor's home, on the side of the road where my home was. Therefore, I was on my private property. Now, a 410 goes 40 yards at most. I watched this vehicle go up on this empty lot, which, like I said, someone else owns, and he drove at least 1,000 yards back there, and admittedly, he was turning around. Well, there was only one place to turn around back there, and that was at least 1,000 yards back there in the woods. There was no homes back there, no reason for this officer to even be back there. Like I said, all trees, all woods. Now, I did not point the gun in the direction of what I even thought that my daughter's husband was in. There is a big open field with some bunch of trees, and then over this way, which is where I thought her husband was at, where the road is that he drove down and turned around at back there, admittedly turned around back there, was, like I said, the vehicle was here, the woods and fields was over here. What I had done was I had loaded the 410, which takes buckshot, bird shot, whatever you want to call it. You know, it spreads. And I put it out my car, passenger side window now. Like I said, I was parked in front of my home. And I put it out my car window, and I shot into the field. Not in the direction that he was at, but I knew that the 410 would be so loud that it would scare him to death, that he would not bother to come bother me. Now, I sat there in my car for a few minutes. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Where I lived at, on private property, it's 100% legal to shoot. People come out their doors there, shoot all the time. They hunt back there in that field, in those woods. This was like January, I want to say. Freezing outside. So, like I said, this is empty field, empty woods. People hunt there. I'm on my private property. Nothing illegal about shooting. I didn't live in the city limits. I lived in the county. Like I said, private property. The law, unless they are called, are not even supposed to come down that road. Now, it was not a sheriff. It was an undercover officer who had been in previous trouble himself for beating people with handcuffs on that he'd arrested, and for stealing their medications. Yeah, this guy has been in other counties where he was fired, came to this county. Anyway, after my incident, he had kept getting in trouble, even in Columbus County. They took him off the beat for a while and put him working in the back of the courthouse. Now, this was why my thing was going on. My court case was going on. Now, the reason that I didn't get shafted, I probably would have, as corrupt as this county is, I would have gotten shafted. But because WEZT did a story on the incident is why I believe I did not get shafted. Because it wasn't, and I had a court-appointed attorney. You know, let's face it, they're not the greatest. They basically work against you with the courts. All right, well, I'm going to go see what she's doing, and I'll come back and finish recording in a minute. Okay, so as I was saying, he was about 1,000 feet back there in this empty field. I believe what had happened, because he's done it before, the same guy, is when I called the law to go over there to where my daughter was at, where she was being beat at, he evidently got his addresses crossed as usual, and showed up over by my residence as opposed to over there where she was still waiting on law to come get her. So as I said, I sat there in my car. I did not reload the gun. Because I didn't do anything illegal. I just shot a gun out the window of my car into the field. But this guy is an asshole. He's an idiot. Anyway, I'm sitting there and a police car comes up behind me. Well, I just sit there in my car. He gets out. I got out, you know, to show him that I wasn't armed, you know, everything was all right. And anyway, about this time, the undercover comes down. Now, you tell me why he was doing 50 miles per hour over a dirt road full of potholes and swinging up in somebody's private property across the street. I know it had to be at least midnight in the middle of winter. He wasn't investigating no drugs. Nah, there's nothing there. Across the street from me lived a preacher. To the left of me was a lady who worked with disabled, handicapped adults. On the other side was her mother, and on the other side was her sister. So there's never been any kind of drugs down my end. Now, it's two sides to this. It's east and west. I have heard some stories about drugs over on the west side, because that was another comment that was left in Mindy's comments, was that the police had been called to that area, not to my residence, to that area for drugs. If there was, it was on the opposite side. I'm not aware of that. I am aware of the cops being called to my residence numerous times, because prior to me going back to work at the convenience store, I worked at a nursing home. And again, I got a call. Her husband had broke into my house. Now, this was why she had left him and was staying with me. He had broke into my house. Well, anyway, I get home, my doors are open, my miniature Doberman Pinscher, thank God he didn't run out. I don't know why or how, thank God he didn't. But yeah, all my doors was left open. She wasn't there. I later found out that she was at my other daughter's house. So I don't know if she ran out, whatever, got a ride. But he just left and left everything open. So when I got home, no one was there. So the law had been called to my residence numerous occasions for her ex-husband who was beating her, as well as the one she's married to now. Had problems with them up there. And I've had to call the law numerous times. So, yes, was the law called to my house? Yes. Nothing to do with drugs. Believe me. My daughter that passed away never lived there. No. So, get that straight. So, getting into, they took me to a place there in Whiteville, talked to me. I explained, which they already knew, because there's hundreds of police records pertaining to this, guy. And him threatening me, my daughter, blah, blah, blah. So they was pretty much aware of the situation. And why was this undercover in his own SUV? They were supposed to travel in twos. The cop that pulled up behind me, this undercover was with him working a beat. When I guess he heard the call come across the radio and got his lines crossed and ended up at my residence. Instead of over there where he needed to be, getting my daughter. And like I said, this officer's done this many times. So he had no business down there trespassing on private property. Nothing illegal about shooting a gun into a field. It's done all the time. So let's get that straight. Okay, now this is part 2. And then I'm going to tell you about the court case. But at the end of this video, I'm going to upload photos of my grandson, photos of the man who beat my daughter, and the WECT news story. So anybody that would like to go and read it and look at it and look at the interview with me and Gavin Johnson is more than welcome to go look at all of it. The story is not 100% accurate, but close enough. So I'm going to give you the information so that you can go to WEZT.com and look up Charity Lee LaRocca, and you will see the news story on my daughter, him, as well as myself. Okay? But as far as it being on police record or it being on court records, Sammy, you're a liar. You're a liar. Because the charge was dropped. It is not supposed to be on my record, and it can't be, because I have a gun registered in my name, by the way, and felons or somebody that's been convicted of something like that cannot have a gun. So, therefore, get your story straight, Sammy, before you tell it. Okay? Because I don't mind telling my side of it. I've had a hard, rough life. I paid for my mistakes, and I paid for other people's mistakes, my children namely. Okay? And I've been through a lot of mental abuse myself. And this case is very similar to what I went through with my first daughter's father. Very similar. Okay? Now, anybody in their right mind is going to protect their child and their grandchild. If you don't, then there's something wrong with you. If he had have came back down that road, if it was him, and he had have came back down that road and came after me, would have I shot him? Yes. Straight out, yes. I would have protected myself. I was in fear for my life. I was in fear for my life for a good reason. Okay, I've reached my size limit. I will have to upload the court case next. Have a great day.